Wine took a sip of her morning coffee, looking at her husband who was doing push ups in the living room. He was in his singlet and shorts. His veiny arms and thick thighs made her stomach churn. He uplifted his body and eyed her. She was quick to look away, which made him smirk. He was well aware of her gawking at him, and he was enjoying it. Otherwise, why would he leave his huge gym and work out in the living room? He sat beside her, too close yet too far. She gulped audibly, which pleased him, seeing his effect on her. What are you drinking? He shifted closer, brushing his shoulder against her intensely. Wine bit her lower lip, hearing his deep and husky voice. Coffee. You want some? She forwarded her cup towards him. He looked at the cup, then at her. You want me to drink from it? Oh, sorry. Let me bring you another one. She abruptly stood up to go to kitchen, but he held her wrist. She gaped at him. He took her cup from her hand and took a sip. This is more delicious. He teasingly smiled at her. She flushed and fled away from there within a second. He chuckled at his wife's antics. Wine and Jungkook were having breakfast, sitting across each other. Wine, she looked at him. Yeah, be ready at 6. We have to be at a party tonight. I'll pick you up. Okay. Finishing his breakfast, he wiped his lips with tissue. He rounded the table and stood beside her. Bending down to her level, he smoothed her forehead. Cupping her left cheek, he wiped the food crumbs from the corner of her lips with his thumb. I am leaving for work. Take care. He left from there, leaving her a blushing mess. She cupped her cheeks, which were warm, and smiled shyly. He's your husband. Stop behaving like a teenager. Scolding herself for some time, she continued eating her breakfast with a never ending smile. After having breakfast, she came in the balcony with her book. Jungkook didn't let her do any work. The maids do all the house chores just like they used to do before their marriage. She invested her time in reading fantasy books. She was always a big fan of these books, especially the men. She's obsessed with these imaginary men. She was currently reading a mafia dark romance book. She couldn't help but think about her husband of 1 month. Every time he flirts with her, it flutters her heart. He's a mafia. He should be cocky and arrogant, but he's always sweet and caring. She wanted to feel his dominant and possessive side. She couldn't help but think about morning. It has become a daily routine for her from a few days. Her undressing her husband with her eyes, his veiny hands and thick thighs. How would it feel to sit on his thick thighs when he ran his veiny hands along every inch of her body? She gulped and shook her perverted thoughts away. She tried to focus on the book again, but her eyes reflected the scene of him doing push ups. She groaned and closed her book. To distract her mind from these thoughts, she went into their room to select an outfit for the party. Vine was rummaging through her closet, searching for a good outfit to wear at the party tonight. She found one dress and took it out. It was a shimmery black maxi dress which has waist cutouts and has a thigh slit. An idea popped up in her mind. She selected it to wear at party. She looked at the time and it was 2. She has plenty of time to get ready. She decided to pamper herself today. She decided to take bubble baths, scrubbed her body, waxed her body hairs, and what not. Perfect preparations for her plan. Wearing the dress, she looked at herself in the mirror. She looked sexy. That's what she wanted. Doing a little makeup, she was all ready for the party. She checked the time and it was 5 minutes to 6. She went out from the closet. Just then the bedroom door opened and Jungkook walked inside. He stopped on his track when his eyes fell on her. His eyes darkened as he checked her from head to toe. Her grip tightened on her clutch. She felt small under his heated gaze. She could feel the tension in the air which she felt every time he was around her. Though she was dressed, yet she felt naked under his gaze. She looked down feeling shy. Shall we go? Wine closed her eyes hearing his voice. His deep and husky voice was her weakness. Gathering her courage, she met his eyes and nodded. Jungkook halted his car outside a club. He got off. Opening the door for Wine, he helped her getting out. Wine looked at him confusingly. Why are we at a club? Because here's the party. It's one of my friend's birthday today and he owns this club, so here we are. Come, let's go. He protectively wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her closer to him. Stay with me, he whispered and escorted her inside. He introduced the birthday boy, Taeyong, to her. He was a funny guy. She enjoyed his company. Taeyong went to attend other guests. Jungkook joined his other friends, taking her along with him. They all were good. Wine liked talking to them. She liked the bond he shared with them. Soon after they left one by one, leaving the couple alone. Wine was mesmerized, seeing the people dancing and enjoying to the fullest. This doesn't look like a mafia party, she whispered in his ear. He chuckled. It's a birthday party, and there is no mafia other than me. I thought your friends are also mafias like you. Yeah, they are, but nobody knows about us. We are undercover mafias. Then how did my father know? Because he's my father's best friend, and you know about no secrets between best friends rule. Vine made an O face, nodding her head in understanding. You don't drink? I do. Why? You aren't drinking, that's why. I am not alone now. I have you and I am the one driving. Can't take risk. A smile broke out on her lips. You want to drink? No, I don't. He nodded and ordered juice for both of them. Wine looked at the people dancing on the floor. She glanced at Jungkook. She got up from the couch and went to dance floor. She started swaying her hips with the beats, making sure Jungkook can see it. Her moves were sensual. From the corner of her eyes, she saw him looking at her with dark eyes. She smirked internally, getting the expected reaction. She closed her eyes and continued moving in rhythm. She knew she was calling trouble for herself, but is she nervous? Yes. Is she going to regret it? Maybe. But is she going to stop? No. She put her whole courage to do this, and she is not going to back off now. Jungkook clenched his jaw, feeling so many hungry eyes on his wife. He wanted to kill everyone who dared to raise his eyes on her, but he has other important business to deal with. He got up and strode towards her with big steps. He jerked her body towards him and threw her on his shoulder. Vian's eyes widened at his sudden move. She was embarrassed to see everyone looking at them. She heard his friends hooting for them. Jungkook, put me down. She wiggled. Shut up. He carried her outside and made her sit on the passenger seat. He sat on the driving seat and drove off. Reaching their home, he again carried her on his shoulder and took her to their bedroom. He put her down and tore her dress, leaving her in her black innerwears. She gasped loudly at his sudden action. I wore it only once. He grabbed her shoulder and pinned her to the nearby wall. He towered over her little frame and looked deadly in her eyes. You care about that freaking piece of cloth? Of course, it was new. She mumbled in a low voice, looking at the dress, which was lying on the floor after facing Jungkook's death. He wrapped his tattooed hand around her throat, gentle enough to not cut out her oxygen. What were you doing? She looked at him innocently. What? Acting innocent, are we? She gulped. He felt it against his palm. I didn't do anything. Were you trying to seduce me? Was it working? He raised his eyebrows in amusement. Maybe, maybe then, he chuckled. Wyan sucked a deep breath when he stroked his thumb on the side of her neck. His intimidating eyes were making her feel things. Not being able to control the temptation in her heart, she leaned towards his lips but whined when he pushed her head back. Calm down, little girl. You don't know how much I am controlling myself. Then don't, she hissed in frustration. If I. He moved his hand from her throat to her cheek and stroked her lower lip with his thumb. touch you here. I will want to. He moved his other hand south. His fingers brushed against her bundles of nerves, making her jerk. He could feel her wetness through her panties. A shiver ran down her spine. She felt her body turning hot. A need. Touch you here, and if I touch you here, I won't be able to stop myself. Who idiot wants you to stop? He snickered. Someone is desperate, I see. But I'm not easy to handle. One bit her lower lip, making him groan. He freed her lip. Don't do that, he said in his demanding voice. Why? It tempts me to do things to you that you can't imagine. He rested her forehead against her and closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. Show me then. He opened his eyes and moved his head back. You're going to regret later. I won't regret anything if it's you. Why? Because I love you. His eyes darkened and he smashed his lips on her. His one hand tugged on her hair while other hand made patterns on her bare waist. He pulled out, smooching her for the last time. Say that again. I love you. He smiled, showing his funny teeth. This was the most beautiful smile she ever saw. I forgot to say one thing. What? He traced his index finger on her jawline, finally stopping at her chin. You looked breathtaking tonight. He pecked the corner of her lips. You still have time to think about it. She groaned in desperation. Her body was craving for his touch. Her hands itched to feel his well-built muscular body. She desired to feel him skin to skin. No barrier between them. The next second she tore his shirt. Buttons flew away and scattered across the room. He smirked and smashed his lips on hers. His hands traveled behind her thighs and he picked her up effortlessly. She hooked her legs around his waist. Her arms wrapped around his shoulder for support. He carried her towards the bed, still devouring her mouth. He lay her down on the bed and hovered over her. He pulled away for a second to look at her. Her cheeks were flushed. Her lips were swollen due to his torture, her breast heaving up and down as she breathed. He groaned, his lips again meeting her for an urgent kiss. There is no turning back now, he whispered in between the kiss before taking her to the world of pleasure. Their naked, sweaty bodies were tangled up under the sheets after their hot session. One was lying on his chest, listening to his calm heartbeat, and he was stroking her hair. Jungkook, yeah, she raised her head to look at him. You didn't reply me? Reply about what? When I confessed. He flipped her on her stomach and hovered over her from behind. She looked at him over her shoulder. What are you doing? Giving you an answer. I told you I won't stop. He whispered in her ear, biting her earlobe before riding her again in the heaven of bliss and ecstasy. She smiled when she heard him whispering, I love you.